Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Hayya ala salah.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Hayya ala salah.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Hayya ala salah.
Allahu Akbar.
Islam on.
Hayya ala
Please be seated.
Allahu Akbar.
I rise, giving all praise to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the balanced universes. We extend the highest of honor to His Holy Divine Prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. We extend high honors as well to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations, Islam. We extend high honors as well to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the green five-pointed star in the center.
Praise Allah.
The 5 points representing love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are 5 highest principles known to man. Islam?
Islam.
We extend high honors as well to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag, Moors, is a constant reminder that the European owes you, the Moors, its compound interest. Islam?
Islam.
We extend high honors to the Sheik staff, noble vanguard staff, and keeping peace.
Praise
We give honors to you, the eels and babies, who are the wheels and waves. For without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam?
Islam.
How's everyone on the holy night?
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. We also give high honors, extend high honors to Act 2 and our holy day, Moors. Islam?
Islam.
You know, the Moorish elders, instructed us that, had the Moors kept, the holy day holy, we would have never saw slavery.
Islam. Demonstrate.
Islam?
Islam.
See, the Moorish Empire, the ancient Moorish forefathers were overthrown because they forgot the first aspect of the divine creed, which is there is no God but Allah.
Islam.
So we started falling in love with luxury,
Yep.
material comforts,
Demonstrate.
falling in love with the carnal plane, thinking that the carnal plane and man were one, instead of Allah and man being one. And it's because of these things that we lowered our vibration and allowed a barbaric people to overthrow us. If you know who your forefathers were, there was no logical reason that the European nations were supposed to have overthrown your forefathers.
That's right. Islam.
This is impossible.
No.
You can't tell
Islam.
me that the European nations actually overthrew us. We overthrew ourselves. Islam?
Islam.
It's because of our ancient hatreds that we have towards one another.
Yep.
Tribalism destroyed us, right? When I would hire a European and team up with him and overthrow my brother, what do you think he's going to do with you once he's done with you?
That's right.
He's
Demonstrate
going
the
to
message.
overthrow
Sheik.
you.
Come on, Sheik.
Islam, we doing that same thing to each other in the streets right now.
Praise Allah.
Islam,
Islam.
same condition. Our people are unconscious, they're on autopilot, right? And they're living out the same ancient hatreds that we were demonstrating before, right at the end of when we were overthrown, right? Why the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, when he gives you your nationality, tells you to proclaim your nationality, one of the first lessons you learn is to learn to love instead of hate.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
Because when you wake up with that hate. Where's my birthright? Where's my land? Where my ships? Where's my gold? Where my wives at? It's a new era of time. The Prophet said, take unto thyself a wife.
Right.
Islam. But I want to demonstrate chapter 15, if I may. Holy Quran and Moorish Science Temple of America.
Praise Allah.
Okay? Let's go to chapter 15. Because our forefathers, our Moorish forefathers taught us, and the Prophet said of himself that he was Jesus made, reincarnated.
Islam.
Right? That he was love made manifest.
Islam.
Come to teach us the way of what love was. Islam?
Islam.
So let's understand this degree of Jesus. Right? And after I demonstrate, this chapter, we'll go into Jesus, and explain, we'll square that principle. Because a lot of us are scarred from Romanized, Europeanized Christianity. Right? So let's square that from a Moorish American perspective. So chapter 15. Everyone there will say Islam?
Islam.
Divine ministry of Jesus. Jesus goes to the wilderness for self-examination, where he remains 40 days, is subjected to 3 temptations. He overcomes.
Praise Allah.
Returns to the camps of John and begins teaching. The harbinger had paved the way. The Logos had been introduced to men as love made manifest. And he must now begin his divine ministry. And he went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and note his strength and worthiness. Islam?
Islam.
Not his physical heart, no. His inner heart. Islam?
Islam.
Where's the nearest place where you meet Allah?
In the heart.
Islam, boy.
Praise Allah.
And with himself he talked. He said, my lower self is strong. Now this is one chosen by Allah. This is a prophet of Allah. He's questioning himself about his worthiness to take on his mission.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
He said, my lower self is strong. By many ties, I am bound down to carnal life. Have I the strength to overcome and give my life as a willing sacrifice for men? This is what you're going to go through as leaders when you go out and raise your people, Morris. Islam?
Islam.
You're going to question yourself. All the dirt I've done? Why me? Why did Allah choose me?
Demonstrate.
Why am I the only one in my family that knows?
Praise
Why did
Allah.
Allah wake me up? I wanted to stay asleep. Why you? Why not you?
Islam.
Islam? Let's move forward.
Praise Allah.
Verse 5. When I shall stand before the face of men, and they demand a proof of my messiahship, what will I say? And the Lord said, what's your credentials? Who'd you sit with?
Right.
What temple you come from?
Islam.
Here's that answer.
Praise Allah.
Right? It says, and then the tempter came and said, if you be the Son of Allah, command these stones to be turned to bread. Jesus said, here's your answer. Who is it that demands a test?
Demonstrate.
It is no sign that one is Son of Allah because he does a miracle. The devils can do mighty things.
Demonstrate.
Islam, Lord?
Islam.
Did not the Gentile magicians do great things before the Pharaoh? If you know that story, when Moses cast down his rod, what the Pharaoh's magicians do? They cast down their rods and turned into serpents just like Moses' staff. Islam? My words and deeds in all the walks of life shall be proof of my messiahship. And then the tempter said, if you will go into Jerusalem and from the temple pinnacle cast down yourself to earth, the people will believe you are the Messiah sent from Allah. This you can surely do. Flattery.
Right.
Flattery, watch that flattery. This you can surely do. For did not David say, he gives his angels charge concerning you, and with their hands they will uphold, will they uphold lest you fall, lest you shall fall. And Jesus said, I will not tempt the Lord my God Allah. And then the tempter said, look forth upon the world. Behold its honors and its fame. Behold its pleasures and its wealth. If you will give your life to these, they shall be yours. Jesus said, away from me all tempting thoughts. My heart is fixed. I spurn this carnal self with all its vain ambition and its pride. For 40 days did Jesus wrestle with his carnal self. His higher self prevailed, and then he was hungry. But his friends had found him, and they ministered unto him.
Praise Allah.
Then Jesus left the wilderness, and in the consciousness of the holy breath, he came into the camps of John and taught. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Surely Allah speaks truth to his holy divine prophet. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Now, that chapter is pregnant. No pun intended. It's full of
Islam.
wisdom.
Islam.
How many of us on a daily basis wrestle with ourselves as Moorish Americans? You know, we have to be a particular example. We have to walk a certain walk. How many of you are ate lunch today? Anybody ate lunch today? Okay. What'd you eat for lunch?
Kale wrap.
Kale, praise Allah. Holistic demonstration. All right? Before you got that kale wrap, was there a thought process that went into what you were going to eat before you got it?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Because that's a thinking man.
Islam.
Thinking, understanding, reasoning, and willing. Right? You have to think before you act.
Islam.
You can't just act. The stress and the weight of that alone would crack the average man and woman. Right? But our prophet tells us this is a field open to strong men and women.
Praise Allah.
Islam?
Islam.
But that doesn't mean that you won't have your times. Generally, those times are ones that no one sees.
Islam. Demonstrate.
Right?
Demonstrate.
Question. Who does the leader go to when the leader needs advice?
Islam. Praise Allah.
Father of the universe.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
Because a lot of times when you go to those who are in the physical like you, they might not give you what they need. They might give you their own general opinion.
Islam.
Right? What does prophet say about general opinion? General opinion offers what?
No future.
Right. For what?
Generally, men are ignorant.
For the generality of men are ignorant. So you must know where the strength of your native plane is.
Islam. Praise Allah.
You're not from here.
Islam.
You reside here. But you didn't begin here. Islam?
Praise Allah. Islam.
Your native plane is spirit.
Islam.
When it gets rough here, you have to go to spirit to reboot, rejuvenate yourself. Islam?
Islam.
Because if you don't, this can and will destroy you. Right? But death is no enemy to man. Right? And there's no failure for the human soul.
Islam.
Sister Satchel, you understand?
Yeah, the friends that came and found him,
Yes.
ministered to him, is that the brotherhood
Yes.
that was before?
Yes. Notice it didn't say his disciples. It didn't say his disciples.
Correct.
Right.
So this is already the brotherhood? He's
Yes.
already with the brotherhood?
Islam.
Islam. Praise Allah.
Okay, that's
Islam.
So he's already with the brotherhood and then decided to go in there in 40 days.
Islam.
and do himself. Okay.
When you do an extended history on our brother, there's a brotherhood known as the Essenes. And the Essenes were a brotherhood that, see, in those days of time, Jerusalem had become corrupt. So these ones went on the outskirts of Jerusalem and set up a separate Jerusalem, right? Their own holy abode.
Praise Allah.
And this is where John and Jesus both, this is another mystery school that they were a part of as well.
Okay, so they're not the ones that came and got him later on.
No,
After the resurrection.
without going too far, that brotherhood, as you know, is a universal brotherhood.
Praise Allah.
Because we got the degrees when we went to Greece.
Right,
And Apollo demonstrated with Apollo.
right.
Islam, and Rome, and Claudius and Juliet,
Yes.
and so on and so forth. So around the earth, there's these ones that are part of a certain particular brotherhood. Our prophet Noble Drew Ali, was a part of that.
Islam.
And he connected those worthy ones
Praise Allah.
to that. But the key is worthy.
Islam.
Islam, see, prophet tells us in general laws, he says, one cannot attend a chamber that has not lived a clean and moral life.
Right.
Islam?
Islam.
Because what takes place there, you won't be able to access unless you live the clean and moral life.
Islam. Praise Allah.
Can't be a slave to sin, as it said.
Islam. Praise Allah.
Islam?
Islam.
All right? Let's go to chapter 16, very next chapter, because to me, these are connected.
Islam.
All right? I want to kind of breeze through because there's a particular verse I want to get to, but I want to build it. Chapter 16, Pilate's final effort to release Jesus fails. He washes his hands in feigned innocence, delivers Jesus to the Jews for execution. The soldiers driving the cavalry. A superstitious people are the Jews. They have a faith that they have borrowed from the idol worshippers of other lands, that at the end of every year, they may heap all their sins upon the head of some man set apart to bear their sins. The man becomes a scapegoat for the multitudes, and they believe that when they drive him forth from the wilds or into foreign lands, they are released from sins. So every spring before the feast, they chose a prisoner from the prisons of the land, and by a form of their own, they fain would make him bear their sins away. Among the Jewish prisoners in Jerusalem were 3 who were the leaders of a vile, seditious band, who had engaged in thefts and murders and rapine, and had been sentenced to be crucified. These ones, upon further research, are called the Zealots. You do the history on that, the Zealots. Okay. Barabbas and Josiah were among the men who were to die, but Barabbas was rich and had bought off priests the boon to be the scapegoat for the people at the coming feast. He was anxiously in waiting for his hour to come. Now Pilate thought to turn this superstition to account to save the Lord Jesus, and so he went before the Jews and said, "You men of Israel, according to my custom," it was a Roman, right? "According to my custom, I will release to you today a prisoner who shall bear your sins away." So the Jews who were demonstrating that custom were demonstrating a foreign custom. Islam?
Islam.
This man you drive into the wilds or in foreign lands, and you have asked me to release Barabbas, who has been guilty of the murder of a score of men. Now hear me, man. Let Jesus be released and let Barabbas pay his debt upon the cross. Then you can send this Jesus to the wilds and hear no more of him. Right? At what the ruler said, the people were enraged, and they began to plot to tear the Roman palace down and drive in exile Pilate and his household and his guards. When Pilate was assured that civil war would follow if he heeded not the wishes of the mob, he took a bowl of water, and in the presence of the multitude, he washed his hands and said, "This man whom you accuse is son of the Most High Allah, and I proclaim my innocence." Islam, Lord?
Islam.
If you would shed his blood is on your hands and not mine. And then the Jews exclaimed, and let his blood be on our hands and on our children's hands. Islam? See, we love to revel, I'm gonna pause real quick. We love to revel in how great we are and what we've done. We built the pyramids. We founded mathematics. We founded mathematics. And we did all these, we charted the stars, and, charted the courses of the 7 oceans, which is only 1 ocean, but it's 7 names. Right? But we've done all this greatness to cater to our ego, right? But we also descend from a long line of prophet killers.
Demonstrate the truth.
Islam?
Islam.
So we don't want to hear the truth.
Demonstrate the truth, Sheik.
Right? It's not truth for truth is amiable. Ones don't want to hear the truth. Truth is a friend to you. Truth is something that when you hear it, it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. Because in the carnal plane, only when you are uncomfortable do you act. Right? When you're comfortable and things is good and all your bills is paid, where's your grind come from?
Right.
Where's your hustle at? Islam? Where's your, the thing that says, you know what, I need to do something for my people. Right? That comes from a certain place in one's being.
Yeah.
Islam?
Demonstrate.
All right? Well, there's a segment of our population, right, that will seek to kill those, or to set up those, all right?
Yeah.
Or to hinder those, place a stumbling block in the path of those who pick up the prophet's cause. Islam?
Islam.
And we must know who they are, Morris.
Fact.
And we must pull our wings.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
All right? Moving forward. And Pilate trembled like a leaf in fear. Barabbas he released, and as the Lord stood forth before the mob, the ruler said, behold, your king. And you would put to death your king? And the Jews replied, he is no king. We have no king but great Tiberius. The only king that they recognized was the Roman king. Was Islam?
Islam.
All right? It says, now Pilate could not give consent that Roman soldiers should imbue their hands in blood of innocents. And so the chief priests and the Pharisees took counsel what to do with Jesus. That's called what's known as a crafty counsel. All right? It says, Caiaphas, who's the high priest, has said, we cannot crucify this man. He must be stoned to death and nothing more. And then the rabble said, make haste, let him be stoned. And then they led him forth towards the hill beyond the city's gates, where the criminals were put to death. The rabble could not wait until they reached the place of skulls, which is known as Golgotha. As soon as they had passed the city's gates, they rushed upon him, smote him with their hands, and spit upon him, and stoned him, and he fell upon the ground. Well, this is things that one sought to do to our prophet.
Straight to Measurement.
So if you know the history, that was a segment of the Moors, professors on that hated our prophet.
Demonstrate the measure, Sheik.
Right? The Moor Science Temple of America, in those days, the prophet was surrounded by Masons.
Yep.
The prophet was surrounded by Masons. The prophet came from the east with a light
Praise
that he
God.
didn't get from England.
Praise out.
That light in England was born in 1717 AD. The prophet didn't come with that.
Islam.
He came, what is Islamism? Is that a new or is that the old time?
Old time religion.
Ancient.
Praise out.
Islam?
Islam.
You descend from the ancient Moabites.
Islam.
That's what the prophet brought us. He didn't bring you that Scottish and York, right? Respect to those organized groups. Right? But he didn't bring you that. They were surrounded by him. Right? Here's his brother that comes out of the east. Right? They have no paperwork to say where he studied or nothing.
Islam.
But he got all the light. They had him way more.
Praise out.
Right?
Islam.
How can we get rid of this dude and take over this movement?
Demonstrate.
Islam? See, this is why you must know the law.
Demonstrate.
This is why you must attend your meetings and attend them promptly.
Praise out.
Islam?
Islam.
Because you must be reminded of the law.
Islam.
Because this is your movement. And if you don't take charge of your movement, right? And I don't mean that in a negative sense, right? But if you don't take charge by being an active participant in your movement, ones will come in and seek to drag out the very foundation of the movement.
That's right. How true.
You won't know the difference. Islam?
Islam.
Let's move forward.
Man. Won't even know the difference.
And one man, a man of Allah, stood forth and said, Isaiah said, he shall be bruised for our transgressions, and by his stripes we shall be healed. See, this one man, this man of Allah, this was one that knew the law. This is one that knew the works of the prophets, right? And when he saw what the brother was about to go through, he said, this is prophecy. This ain't no strange happening right here. This has to happen. Islam?
Islam.
See, that was ones back in the time of the prophet, Moors. You have to remember. Slavery was declared out in 1865, right? Prophet comes 1913, right? There were very well ones around the prophet that couldn't read.
Yeah.
2018, there's ones right now that walk amongst us that can't read. So no, in 1913. Islam? But some of these ones had something inside them. They had a faith that in them was so strong that when the prophet demonstrated his words and deeds, they said, this man was sent from God. He was sent from the great God. I got to get behind him.
Islam.
There was no internet then. There was no way to confirm what he said other than if he said a thing, it'd be done.
Islam.
That was it.
Praise Allah.
That was it. They said, this man has to be from the Most High. Islam?
Islam.
All right? But what else? We carry smartphones in our pockets. And, iPhones and $1,000 phones with internet, all kind of capabilities. We can't seem to get behind the prophet. A lot of us think we are wiser than the prophet of Allah.
Talk about it, Sheik.
Islam?
And it was.
All right, let's move forward. 23. And Jesus laid all bruised and mangled on the ground. The high priest called out, stay, stay, you men. Behold, the guards of Herod come, and they will crucify this man. And there beside the city gates, they found Barabbas' cross. And then the frenzied mob cried out, let him be crucified. Caiaphas and the other ruling Jews came forth and gave consent. And they lifted Jesus from the ground. And at the point of swords, they drove him on. Where have you heard that phrase before? The point of a sword. Moors are hard-headed, stiff-necked, and never did anything except by the point of a sword. Where does that quote come from? See, if you don't know the law, you won't recognize it when you hear it. When the prophet demonstrated that before the Moors in his day, he was quoting Old Testament. That's in Leviticus. Islam? Again, this is not a new law, so all these ancient laws, it's like a preponderance of evidence to our present day. All right? Moving forward. 27. There's no accident. 27, it's 9, it's completion. A man named Simon from Cyrene, a friend of Jesus, there's that word again, friend, was near the scene. And since the bruised and wounded Jesus could not bear his cross, they laid it on the shoulders of this man and made him bear it to Calvary. Islam. See, when our prophet came to us, he came bearing a sash that was laid across his shoulders. Islam. Prophets demonstrating before you who is going to come and help me shoulder this work. Right? Who amongst you in the present day is going to willing to continue to work with Prophet Noble Drew Ali?
Praise Allah.
Islam. They go out and remind our people that they're not Negroes, blacks, colors, Ethiopians, none of that. Right? None of that is attacked to the human family. Right? And not just give it to them by words, but by example.
Islam.
By constancy. That if they see you today demonstrating Moorish, when they see you next year, you demonstrating Moorish. And in fact, next year, you might be more disciplined than this year.
Praise Allah.
When they see that growth, and they see that light, that illumination is what they're looking for.
Islam.
See? They're not looking for holy guard.
No.
They're not even looking for the fast. Because you could be out of guard, right? But if you got that light of Allah, they're going to magnetize to you. Automatically, I'll be a witness.
Praise Allah.
Islam? All right? So these are the things that we have to demonstrate, once we have to be able to begin to shoulder the work of the prophet, help him with his task. Islam?
Islam.
All right? So, Simon of Cyrene, right? When you separate to the world and you remember the relation to violence through the love and unity, I want you to remember Simon of Cyrene.
Praise Allah.
Right? Because after our people had, according to the story, after our people had set upon the one that came to raise them up, right? This one put himself in harm's way.
Islam.
You got a mob of people beating and spitting and stoning a guy. This guy goes in the middle of that and picks up the very cross that he dropped.
Right.
Right? And help us. So you know they continue to do the same thing to him. What manner of man is this? Islam? What energy is this? All right? And let's talk about Jesus.
Who is he?
Members of Temple number 19 know from time to time I like to demonstrate a chart of more science stuff from America. Islam? All right? I like to read the text because you have to know, it is said that you must have clear conceptions of the work that you're called to do.
Islam.
Right? The charter is what empowers us to do our work. It's authority, because it comes from the holy city of Mecca. The prophet said he has charters that issue throughout the states in the United States. Islam? All right? So let's see what this charter was so we can, trace ourselves back thus we can know.
Praise Allah.
Islam says, charter, more science simple of America, to all whom these presents may come. Greeting, the home office. By virtue of the authority vested in the most holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and the Moorish Science Temple of America, by a lawfully granted charter of the state of Illinois, has granted this charter to this branch of the Moorish Science Temple of America at 394 Cleveland Avenue in the county of Fulton, in the state of Georgia, to be styled and known as Moorish Science Temple of America, number 19, invested with all the powers and privileges of a subordinate temple within the jurisdiction of the said home office. Hear ye, jurisdiction aforesaid by virtue of whose authority exists, while acting in conformity with the laws, rules, and regulations of the home temple and the subordinate temple aforesaid, being duly and lawfully organized, constituted, and established, is hereby authorized and empowered to initiate and confer the degrees of said temple in accordance with the established forms and usages upon all such persons as are duly and lawfully qualified to promote and practice the teachings of all the true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. The officers and men who benefit under this charter do hereby pledge themselves to act at all times in obedience to the commands and edicts of the illustrious Noble Drew Ali, the founder and head of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Home Office can at any time suspend, revoke, or take away this charter or warrant of authority if in the judgment of our grand ruler and prophet Noble Drew Ali, said subordinate temple has violated any of the principles and or rules of the Moorish Science Temple of America. In testimony whereof I have hereunto subscribed my name and affixed the seal of the said Moorish Science Temple of America. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam, Moors.
Islam.
And enshrined on said charters what we refer to as the 10 wonders of the world. Right, the 10 high noble emblems, of which the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is one of those emblems. Islam?
Islam.
Right? And just for those, you know, who may have done a little Kabbalistic study, how many Sephiroth?
10.
Right?
Well,
It's 10.
10, yeah.
Right? Don't do that. There's 10. Right? The southernmost Sephiroth, or realm, is what? It's called what? Malkuth. Right? It sits at the southernmost, right? Malkuth would represent the carnal plane. Islam? Where's the Prophet sitting on this chart? In the carnal. Descending now to go the exact opposite to him. Right? What's at the top of the tree of life? Kepler. Right? Right? What's here is the eye of Allah. It says the prophet is a thought of Allah. Manifested flesh. It's no strange happening. All governs all events. Islam. So when you demonstrate Jesus, Moors, Jesus is a degree that is conferred. We demonstrate Muhammad. Muhammad is a degree that is conferred. Buddha and Confucius, these are degrees that are conferred. Right? When we talk about Jesus, we're not talking 2,000 years ago. We're talking now. Islam? It says, know thyself and Allah, the genealogy of Jesus. Islam? What's funny about the word Jesus on this demonstration?
It's in quotes.
Why is it in quotes, Mosh?
Because
Is it talking about the man solely 2,000 years ago? Islam, Sheik.
Islam, praise Allah. What does Jesus mean?
Justice.
What does Jesus mean, Mosh?
Justice.
Islam.
So that's what that joint.
Islam. Right? And who's here in the carnal plane to make sure justice is? Who fulfilled the works of Jesus upon the plane of the manifest? Muhammad, right? And Muhammad's students or disciples, right? The Muslims went forth into the world,
Praise Allah.
right? Breaking the cross and ripping the heads off swine.
Demonstrate.
Islam? That's what
Islam.
they did, Moors. All the way to India, China, come all the way across northern Africa,
Islam.
up into Spain, into Europe.
Facts.
Islam?
Islam.
Across the Atlantic, into the Americas, North, Central, South America, and the adjoining islands, right?
Islam.
All from a message of there is no God but Allah. Right? And they were going to a culture, it wasn't to destroy a culture and colonize them. It was to bring the concepts, to clarify the concepts. Islam?
Uniting them.
Because all these Asiatic nations were sent prophets at one point.
Praise Allah. Demonstrate.
Right? And as a result of their idolatry, of falling away from the original ideal, right? It started getting further and further and further away.
Demonstrate.
So the Prophet Gautama, the one you know as Buddha, didn't tell anyone to build any statues for him. He didn't. Islam? The ones after him missed him. Right? Thought it would be a good idea to erect statues on his behalf so ones will remember him. Right? And after a while, certain ones began to worship the statue. Right? This is what the Arabs post-Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, were afraid of.
Right.
They were terrified of. This wasn't your custom.
Right.
We had statues, we had art, we had a bunch of stuff.
Praise Allah.
Right? Because the Moorish adepts I'm talking about knew that there was no
God.
right. Worshipping anything in the carnal is falsehood.
Period.
Right? Worshipping the creation as opposed to the creator
Right.
is falsehood.
Islam.
Islam,
Islam.
but the ancient forefathers were all through the earth bringing this one message. And they galvanized. When the European heard, Allahu Akbar, when they heard that, they were terrified. Right? Because what happened was various different clans and tribes were unified together under this
Under
one
that.
Islamic principle.
Praise Allah.
Right? When you research Northern Africa, you research a group of people that history calls the Berbers,
Praise
Right.
Allah. Demonstrate.
known as the Amazigh.
Demonstrate.
Right? She
Praise
had a
Allah.
great conversation about this stuff.
All right, bro.
Right? These were various different clans and tribes. Right? These are the same ones that the Prophet told you were the Canaanites and Moabites.
Praise Allah.
That established
Demonstrate.
kingdoms for themselves.
Islam.
Just the same ones.
Same, yeah.
Right? But what you notice is that when the Arabs came in, right, there was a conflict at first. There's something known as the Berber Wars. And these were wars between them and the Arabs. Because the Arabs were trying to put Arab customs on them.
Right.
And they were like, we have our own customs. We don't need yours. And it caused war. Right? But then there was a greater reality that was upon them. And that was the fact that the Romans, right, were in Northern Africa,
They approached.
colonized. Right? So the Berbers, which is the Canaanites and Moabites, and the Arabians from Arabia, came together in council and said, you know what? Let's form a confederation, right? Where we'll unify under Islam. You can keep your customs,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But we're unified in Islam. And this unity takes place in commerce and trade. This unity takes place in military defense. If your clan or tribe is attacked, I'm duty bound to come
Right.
get your back. Islam?
Islam.
See, the unity that we're working towards now has already been done. It's already
Right.
the template has already been demonstrated.
Islam.
We just got to fall in,
Islam.
right? I got you. So this compact agreement was formulated, and if I can go to the map, you have Afrocentricists who will tell you that Islam was an invading factor,
Demonstrate.
right? Islam was a foreign thing that came in and took over Africa. But what Islam did, if you understand military strategy, it created a frontal line and two flanks. So meaning all of Northern Africa, Northeastern and Northwestern Africa, all of these were Muslims.
Islam.
As a result of that, the Roman nations, the Europeans, could not come in without Muslim permission.
Islam.
They couldn't sail the Mediterranean without Muslim permission.
Islam.
History documents the Mediterranean as an Islamic lake.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
So your fez is known around the world for a reason. Sister, your turban is known around the world for a reason.
Praise Allah.
Because the rulers of the earth at one time were arrayed themselves just like you do now. And our Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us a very specific treatment of Islamism
Praise Allah.
that links us directly to a specific lineage,
Praise Allah.
a specific lineage of Muslims that,
Ancient
that
custom.
you are connected to in this land here. Islam?
Islam.
So we vibrate with our brothers from India and Saudi Arabia, West Africa, whatever, right? But we come from a specific bloodline,
Praise Allah. All right.
right? Islam,
Islam.
specific bloodline. And as a result of that, Morris, when you demonstrate from that perspective, ones will respect you,
Islam.
right?
I've been with
If you Negro, black, and colored, and you take Shahada and become a Muslim, they don't respect you. Not unless you come with a nationality.
Islam.
If you go to an international mosque, you go to one right here on 14th Street, Farouk Mosque, Al Farouk.
Alhamdulillah.
Beautiful mosque. It's built by Pakistanians and Indians and West Africans. Beautiful. Nine cold dome, safe mosque. But if you go there as a Negro, with all your assalamu alaikums,
Right.
right? They'll salam you back, right? But they'll watch you,
Yeah.
right? Because they know you don't have a culture.
Right.
Islam. See, they've all agreed amongst themselves, right? They said we'll get in one room, right, and respect each other's customs. But when we come without any, they automatically come together to agree
Yeah.
we're against them.
Right. Watch that one.
Right? And if you doubt what they are, let's go to their communities and see what they look like.
Yeah.
Let's see what they control in their communities, because we know we're in their communities selling them all of their habits. See, if you didn't drink alcohol, they couldn't make millions off alcohol. Islam?
Islam.
I know an Indian family. They own the subway, which they just closed down because Asiatics kept robbing it. And they own the liquor store, right? They closed the subway. Liquor store's doing what they came in the other day. I'm talking to them. They're like, how's your liquor store doing? They said, oh, we're closing it. I said, oh, why? You know, business bad? No, business is great. It's so great, we're closing it. Islam? Now, we done put her son through college.
Right.
Literally, now this is not the allegory. And we literally put her son through college with our habits. Islam? See, when the prophet tells you to be clean and pure,
Praise
right? The prophet tells you to not partake of any intoxicants or any any harmful detriment that might be detrimental to the organization.
Right.
When he tells you these things, he's telling you for a reason. Everything the prophet said, he said for a specific reason, right? Because you have to learn how to get other nations' hands out of your pocket,
Praise all.
right? And the only reason they're doing that is because you're not in control of self. You see? You know, how many Asiatics you know when they had a hard, stressful week, you know what, Mama's gonna give me something to drink just to take the edge off. But when it wears off, what's going, the edge ain't going nowhere. The edge is gonna be right there.
Islam.
You just numb the edge. It ain't went nowhere.
For the record.
Islam?
Islam.
You know?
Yeah.
But, you know, for the man and woman that wants to deal with the edge head on, you know? See, that's why them ancient Moors are, you know, represented by the bull, right? Bull is known to charge head on. See, that's your crescent.
Praise God.
Take your crescent and flip it this way, it's a set of horns. You take the last name El that the prophet gave back to us in the ancient Canaanite, the word El means bull. Right? Means mighty. Islam? The first letter of that was this. What you take and turn it this way, that's the glyph for bull.
Islam.
Islam? Right? But that represents the bull. Right? What do they have in Spain? What type of ceremony do they have? The running of the bulls.
You know what?
What do they demonstrate?
Trying to stab.
Driving them.
711 AD. General Tariq coming in with 12,000 Muslims from Morocco. That's what they demonstrated.
Right.
Running through Spain. Running over Europeans. That's what they demonstrate.
Islam. Fast.
And they get them inside the arena. They kill most of the bulls they can. They get down to one. Right? They get them in the arena and they have the matador, right? Matador has a cape. He's, hold it!
They're red.
Hold it! What color's the flag?
Red.
But he can't see it because it's colorblind. So he not colorblind, meaning he don't recognize his own flag. Right? And the whole ceremony's over when I take the sword and I pierce the bull and kill it. Ritualistic ideals behind your ignorance.
Islam. Fact.
Islam wars? While we want to run our neighborhoods and our communities. Being Negroes. Islam?
No.
You got another generation of young brothers coming up. Brother mentioned hip hop. We're using the platform of hip hop, right? Because the creative energy goes nowhere. We take that with us wherever we go. Who knew, right, through the time that we've been here, that we had that many poets amongst us until hip hop came out?
Praise God.
Who knew? How many brothers, when they first heard a hip hop record, or sisters, said, you know what, I can do that, and picked up a pen and started writing? And you did that then. Islam?
Islam.
Because if you realize what your forefathers did, they were master poets. You know? See, if you don't know your forefathers, you can't truly know who you are. Right? Give me some Moorish forefathers. Name me some Moorish forefathers. You know, you are your forefathers without doubt or contradiction, right?
Yeah.
Give me some names. Drop some names. Who are they?
Tariq.
General Tariq Ibn Ziyad.
Yeah.
Who else?
Hannibal.
Hannibal, son of Hamilcar. Exactly. Who else?
You got Boabil, who gave it up.
1492.
Yeah.
Who else? See, why I'm doing this, see these hesitations?
Abdullah.
Right. Well, absolutely. But you see these hesitations? These are what shows people that we're not all the way there yet. You're supposed to be able to run that thing down. Not only who they were, what they did, all of that. All of that. Because if I was to ask you who Christopher Columbus was, you'd give me about 15 minutes. Without hesitation. If I was to ask you Abraham Lincoln was, you'd run that down. See, we know somebody else's forefathers and their customs and traditions. We don't know our own. Islam, all of that comes back with all of this.
Praise God.
All of that comes with it. All the keeping of culture and the heritage alive. All of that comes with it. Islam, all right? And demonstrating the traits of being honorable and noble. You know, this is something that we have to work on, right? Because that's a part of the unity aspect that causes a difficulty with us. right? The trust factor, because we've been through so much,
Islam.
right? It makes it difficult to, to break the wall down, because when you break the wall down, something else happens, right? But nobody ever promised you that wasn't going to happen. It's the carnal plane. You're here for it to happen.
Demonstrate.
But you got to be aware of that. Most people are not even aware of where they're at. You ask, most people, tell me where Earth really is. Right? They think this is a place to have fun. They actually think that. Right? They don't realize this is a school.
Islam.
Right? You're here to learn the hardest
Right,
lessons. Right? You made a compact agreement with other planes to come here and master this.
Islam.
There's certain ones in creation said, we don't want will. We don't want that. Y'all play with that.
Islam. Demonstrate the facts.
Islam? We wanted to take on will to say, I want to play with decision making. How many parents know? You know how terrifying it is as a parent when your children start playing with decision making? When you tell them to do something, they start, I don't want to do it. I want to do it this way. Now, that's not what I told you.
Right.
Islam? Don't run down the steps. Go around the corner. Islam?
Islam.
All right? But they start playing with decision making. Don't touch the stove, it's hot.
Yeah.
Right? But this is us, right?
Yeah.
Developing our decision making, right? We are those children. We're ancient, but we're new in our understanding, right? So the prophet told you to take your place in the affairs of men, right? We have to learn what that means. We have to learn what decision making is. We have to learn the consequences of me saying, I'm going to hate this individual, right? I'm going to make an odd reference, but his statement is in alignment with our prophet. How many people heard of Reverend Ike? Remember Reverend Ike? Reverend Ike is generally known for, the flashy suits and the finger waved hair and all that type of stuff. I'm convinced, and I have no evidence to prove it, I'm convinced that Reverend Ike studied this. Reverend Ike made a statement one time. He said, never utter anything you don't want to experience. You know how people play with words? I hate such and such and such. For those who know, we shudder at that.
Praise Allah.
Do you know what you just created for yourself right there? That's got to come back. Islam? I don't like such and such and such.
Yeah,
One day, you're going to need mercy. And that mercy will be left up to those who have no mercy in them.
Praise Allah.
If you want compassion, you have to give it. Right? My grandmother taught me a long time ago, she said, you only get to keep what you give away.
Praise Allah.
Right? Anybody ever held sand from a beach in their hand? Real tight? What happens?
It'll get
It starts going through your fingers.
Yeah.
The tighter you grip, the more starts coming out. Islam? You can't study all this and keep it to yourself and do nothing.
Praise Allah.
You will go crazy.
Islam.
I've been witness.
Islam.
You will lose it. Those voices. Anybody seen the movie Bruce Almighty? Jim Carrey? Morgan Freeman was God before he had the charges. Right? But he said, he went to, Jim Carrey goes to Morgan Freeman and says, well, what are all these voices in my head? He said, they're prayers.
Praise Allah.
Are you doing anything about the prayer? No. You'll go crazy if you don't do something about it. That's all the information that you're studying. All this Moorish,
Islam.
all the history and the dates.
Islam.
Your conscious mind is finite. Not your sub. Your conscious mind is finite. Where the frontal lobe, where you store all of this stuff. Right? So the only way you'll be able to keep it is if you teach it and live it. And
Using it.
exactly. It is not in the possessing of things. It's knowing how to use them. Islam, so Moors, I don't want to be overly preachy, and I don't want to burden the Moors, but it was just, kind of laid on my spirit this evening, that Moors are not picking up the cause of the Prophet.
Islam.
And not, at this late stage in the game, I see our Prophet Noble Drew Ali is still alone. He's still alone. You know what I'm saying? He's on the plane of soul, looking at his Moors like, what are they doing with what I gave them? They're bickering one another. They got this thing called the internet now. They arguing with each other in the open. Prophet said, don't take your business before the European. Right? Who was Facebook created by?
European.
So if I get on the Facebook and argue with this brother right here, am I not taking my business before the European? Islam? Putting each other out there, frustrated. Our whole division is documented. So when the enemy decides to come at you, he knows specifically where to press. Islam? I've been in this movement long enough, and movements prior, to know that you do have real adversaries, right? Your joy is not everybody's joy,
Islam.
right? You rising, coming back to power. Everybody doesn't want to see that.
Islam.
Asiatics, Muslims, Europeans included, right? Everybody doesn't want to see that. You would think all of our people would want to see it, right? No, because some of them are really so ingrained mentally with the European, they don't know how to think without him if he wasn't on deck anymore, right? So it's a lot of things, we have to squash. A lot of beefs we have to squash. A lot of past traumas and stuff like that we got to get past. Because without getting past these things, there is no nation building.
Demonstrate.
We have to be able to open our doors to visiting
Praise
other
God.
temples.
Praise
We
God.
have to go visit other temples.
Islam.
Islam, and we have to be aware of the difference in customs,
Islam.
right? Because custom alters not the nature of truth.
Islam.
So if you see them doing something slightly different, praise Allah.
Islam.
That was developed for a specific reason in that temple.
Praise God.
Islam, and our temple here, we have a specific custom where brothers don't press the hands of sisters,
Islam.
right? Because of specific things that took place in this temple and other temples we're affiliated with,
Islam.
right? Because we have to guard that which is most important. Islam,
Islam.
all right? So it's various different things, Lord, that we have to be, really on our job about. Either we're going to do this or we're going to go back to sleep.
Islam.
There's no middle ground.
Islam.
Islam, and I give honors to all those who's willing to pick up this work, because it's
Islam.
not an easy work, right? Because we know and we acknowledge that this work is generational,
Islam.
okay? And would you be okay with the fact if it wasn't your generation? What if your job was just, to toe the line and keep it going, keep it alive,
Yeah.
so his generation can come,
Islam.
right? And they can inherit it,
Praise God.
right? And we want to do our very best as we're becoming elders, right? To not take on the hatreds of our elders,
Islam.
right? The hatreds of 29, 28, and 34,
74.
74, certain Muslims we're talking about all these years, right? Those hatreds have to die, right? In the Torah, when they talked about Moses and the Israelites going through the wilderness, right? He had to wait 2 generations. It wound up like 40 years in the wilderness. 2 generations had to die off before he could send Joshua and them, who were a younger group of Israelites, into the promised land.
Praise God.
Moses himself, who was the prophet that guided them, he himself couldn't go.
Islam.
He said, I have blood on my hands. I've killed an Egyptian because I saw him beating my brother.
Islam.
But that would cause harm in the new land. It has to
Islam.
be clean and pure. Islam,
Islam.
it may not be us. Allahu A'lam. Allah is the best of those. All right? However, whatever the case may be, we got to keep the prophet's temple's doors open.
Praise God.
And the main temple doors, you got to keep open are the doors to your heart.
Islam.
Right? That real Adab chamber.
Well, you can be that.
You got upper chambers to your heart too. Islam, you got to keep them thieves and them foes out your heart.
Islam.
Right? And do not allow your heart to become heavy.
Praise God.
Right? Because again, this is not an easy thing to deal with, because we have to take on the Negro problem.
Demonstrate.
Last statement before I demonstrate divine warning. The fact that other groups of people had ones that come to them and raise them up is a beautiful thing, but they didn't have the word that our prophet had, the prophet and Garvey had.
Truthfully.
Right? Because all the nations around the earth at least knew they were related to that nation.
Come on.
They knew their nationality.
Please.
If you at least know that, certain things you just want to succumb to. Right? There's no way when crack hit us here in these states,
Right.
if we knew our nationality, we knew our divine creed, they couldn't sell you crack.
Right.
I'm not using that. I'm vibrating too high, first of all. Islam, they caught us at a low point. Islam, we was looking for something to escape. One of my former sheiks said, Asiatics use drugs because they can't afford vacation.
Islam.
Or trying to go somewhere. He would love to be on the island of St. Lucia, with his feet up with the drink with the umbrella in it. But he can't afford it. Rent his due. His wife's about to leave him. Right? His kids is rebellious. He needs something to take the edge off, but he don't have the tools necessary to work the edge off.
Islam.
Or to meet it head on. Islam?
Islam.
Praise Allah to ones that handle stress and strain head on.
Praise God.
So, praise Allah for you.
Praise Allah.
Right? And if you got any habits that you deal with, keep it out the eyes of the public until you get strong on that. That's no neutrality.
Islam.
Islam,
Islam.
at least keep it out the eyes of the public, because it doesn't take much to destroy the influence of good leadership.
Islam. Praise God.
Our people are already not strong enough where they need to be. So all they need to do is see you do one thing that's off, that they back in the world. If they ever left.
Yeah.
You can't just do anything. That's why the prophet said, get them profane words out of your tongue.
Islam.
Moors are not even permitted to cuss.
Islam.
Right? Because the word profanity comes from the word profane, which means outside the temple. Literally.
Islam.
When you do the etymology of it. So we're not even permitted to curse, right? We're not even, when we get upset with our people, we're not allowed to call them the N-word.
Islam.
That's removed from us. We can't do that. I hear Moorish Americans all the time using that word. If you knew what that represents, you would never utter it.
Islam.
If you know the vibration and the harmonic that surrounded that energy, you would never summon it. Because the more you use it, the more you become it.
Islam.
Islam, Moors?
Islam.
And be steadfast when it comes to this. Challenge yourself to dare to do wondrous and mighty things. Right? And do that with others. Right? Give others the best that is in you. Right? And do things to cause yourself to put yourself in the other person's place. That's our prophet. You don't know what nobody's going through. You know? Stop judging. Judge ye not lest you be judged, for the judgment that you judge, you would also be judged. Matthew 7:1. Islam? All right? Are there any questions, comments, concerns, or statements before I lower the meeting? Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah indeed.
Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, Chicago, Illinois, March 11, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out the cards for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, the noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 All praises are due to Allah and the highest of honors to his holy divine prophet Noble Drew Ali. Allah's love thought made manifest. Islam was so that men may comprehend. I give honors to you all for sacrificing time from your families, from your busy schedules, and from your excuses to come here tonight. Because we all could have used an excuse, right? Now, how many excuses did the prophet have but didn't use? You know, there were no national highways in 1928, right? He traveled around the road and set up 15 temples.
Praise Allah.
With the advancements of, modern technology via these highways and junctions and so on and so forth, ones still have dust upon their heels and won't travel around and go meet one another, press one another's flesh.
Praise Allah.
Islam raised one another up.
Praise Allah.
Islam? Because how do you know that look of illumination that's in your eyes might not be the very thing that a person needed to raise them up?
Islam. Praise
A
Allah.
kind word. Never sleep on the strength of a kind word.
Praise Allah.
Right? If someone greets you, give them a greater and stronger greeting.
Islam.
That is Islamism.
Praise Allah.
Somebody says Islam to you, say Islam, boy.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah, boy. How are you? You see, you have the power to raise them up. Somebody hit you with an Islam, Islam. That's what we do to one another. That's the Asiatic crime.
Islam.
That's a crime. That's criminal. Islam, because
Islam.
you're not using your vibration for good. You're not using your powers for good. Islam,
Islam.
and don't sleep on good leadership. If you got good leadership, support your leadership.
Praise Allah.
Islam, that's Simon and Cyrene. Simon and Cyrene took on that mantle.
Islam.
Islam, because some of you out there may be potential leaders, and one day you will want ones to support you in your administration.
Praise Allah. Islam.
Islam, like I said, when Jesus was in the wilderness, demonstrating his, looking for his inner worthiness of his inner heart, it said he afterwards, 40 days he was hungry, and his friends came and ministered unto him.
Praise Allah.
Right? So you'll need ones that know the law, that when you get confused and confounded and don't know north from south or east from west, you don't know where you're at them gates inside of the gated circle, right? You need somebody to come and bring you and connect you back with that seven.
Praise Allah.
Say Islam, oh, I love you.
Islam.
Come on, Mom. Let me pray. Come on, Mom. Come on. Love you.
Praise Allah.
Islam, oh, it's well. Don't let this carnal plane destroy you.
Islam.
Islam,
Praise Allah.
you a perfect soul. You eternal. Can't nothing harm you.
Praise Allah.
That's noble Drew Ali.
Islam.
That's the prophet
Islam.
of the Moorish movement. And that's who you have working with you, in you, and through you. Because that thought was a thought of Allah, the Father of the universe. Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
Praise Allah, praise Allah. Everyone please rise. We'll close as we began. We'll face the east, which is the source of which they say all light has come.
Praise Allah.
Please hold your feet at a 45-degree angle, standing on your square. Your heels will be touching like this. Raise 5 fingers on your left, 2 fingers on your right, invoking the sacred presence, the 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, evermore to be, also known as the 7 stars of the right hand. For our visitors, please adopt a position of prayer and a wording of prayer in your inner heart, right? That is in conjunction with the divine spirit that we're summoning in our invocation in this moment. Please repeat after me. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of the universe,
Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
and my salvation,
By night,
by night,
and by day.
and by day,
Through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam, boys.
Islam.
Praise Allah.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
حي على الصلاة
Allahu